DeFi Standard, and this is Mickey B. Fresh.
And Patty XRP.
And today we're going to do a dive into the newly announced partnership between Flare Networks and Alliance Block, which is building institutional DeFi infrastructure on the Flare Network, on Songbird, and also cross-chain bridges. One thing that Alliance Block does have that's going to add to the adoption of Flare Network is compliance and regulatory layer. And they're also going to be providing a liquidity mining as a service and a cross-chain DEX services powered by Alliance Block. So now these products and applications are going to then utilize Songbird, Spark, FXRP. So this is more use case for the assets. And another thing that really I think is appealing to many people is a single-sided liquidity pool, which means then you don't have to worry about the impermanent loss. And these are going to be built on top of the Flare Network and Songbird. So this is our transition right here into DeFi 2.0. So this is a big period of change in the industry, and everyone needs to be aware of that. And when this partnership was announced, I was like, this is the perfect partnership, Patty. I was like, this is an institutional company directed at traditional markets, trying to get them into DeFi. But by themselves, you know, there's only so much they could do. Now you're bootstrapping it to a community like Flare and the XRP community and all the F assets communities and bringing them all together. And this is where we see the power of DeFi 2.0.
Absolutely, Mickey. So with that, we're going to dive into just some technicals about the project to get you guys started. And then we will talk more about the partnership with Flare, as well as show you guys what one of their current working dApps looks like for liquidity mining, and then touch on, you know, where the token is in its chart and things like that. So with this, the native asset of Alliance Block, which is going to be a layer 2 decentralized protocol, is the ticker symbol is ALBT. There is a 1 billion supply of ALBT. And from as far as I can tell, there's no inflation rate. Additionally, some of the main members of the team are Rashid Ajaja, Amber Gadar, and Mathis DeVry. I probably mispronounced some of those, but so in this grouping, they have a quant analyst, fixed income derivatives trader, and then a guy that has led several different companies in product development. So definitely a lot of experience in finance and putting together tech products. And then moving into the investors, some of the big ones were Vendetta Capital, Kairos Ventures, and the Portugal FinLab. And then partners is where it really gets juicy. And there's actually a lot more than what I have listed here, but you can go to their website and check that out as well. So they're going to be with Flare Network and Songbird Network, Quant, Chainlink, London Stock Exchange, API 3, Ocean Protocol, Injective Protocol, Elrond, Binance Smart Chain, Hedera Hashgraph, Polygon, and Ava Labs, which is the company that works on top of Avalanche. So they're already, you know, building on many different blockchains. A lot of these layer 2 projects are going to go multi-chain, especially as they're going to try and facilitate cross-chain swapping, you know, i.e. atomic swaps. So moving down further, we're going to get into the distribution of the ALBT token, as well as some of the utility of it. And with this, I definitely really like the distribution. It's right up, you know, my alley on what I like to see, and same with Mickey. So 45% or 450 million of the native asset is being utilized in ecosystem and liquidity mining rewards. Additionally, 150 million is being used for node operator rewards. 100 million, which is only 10%, went to seed investors, 90 million to the team, 60 million to advisors, 50 million to partners, 50 million to the Alliance Block Fund, 40 million in a private sale, and then 10 million for initial liquidity within their ecosystem. So, you know, it really stands out to me that they're using 45% of the token to incentivize participation in the network. That's akin to other projects like Flare and Panther Protocol that I really like how they're kind of distributing the token, which, you know, as we know, is one of the harder things to do. And moving down here, ALBT actually has a lot of utility within the layer 2 ecosystem. So it can be used as a medium of exchange, node operator rewards. It's the currency reserve of the ecosystem treasury. network fees, collateral for transactions, voting power, staking, network participant ratings, which this is actually really interesting that they're going to grade. They have an AI protocol that's going to grade basically participants within the network on, are they using the network? Are they good stewards and different things like that? There's several kind of different metrics that'll go into that rating. And the idea is to help institutional partners that maybe are, taking their first foray into DeFi. It's going to help match them up with, hopefully like-minded other entities that they can possibly do trades with in the future, and whatever you would need to do between, an institution and a fund, or exchanges in an institution, or, whatever grouping of those kind of firms you want to come up with. And then additionally, they'll have token buybacks and burns every quarter by the Treasury protocol and the Alliance Block Incorporated entity, which will be based on what are the ecosystem profits for each quarter. All right, so moving down here, there will be 3 types of node operators. We'll have institutional, data, and service nodes. The institutional nodes, they have some pretty strict criteria. You're not going to be able to be just an individual person and run one of those. This is very, while retail can use this ecosystem, it is very focused on institutions. And I think they kind of take a same idea as the XRP ledger does, that you don't necessarily have to, you can just get some of these firms running the nodes that want to see the well-being of the ecosystem extended, perpetually. So additionally, they'll be providing network updates in consensus, and they will be able to vote on network improvements and updates. Data nodes are going to allow operators to buy, sell, store, and process all types of data. It complies with GDPR and other data regulations across jurisdictions. And you can delegate staked ALBT tokens to institutional node operators if you're operating a data node. The service nodes must be operated by any individual or firm providing services within the ecosystem, and they will have criteria for these kinds of nodes as well. One of the interesting things is, like, maybe you could be, a financial tax consultant or advisor or something like that, and you may want to provide services through their layer 2 ecosystem. You could do that like as an individual. You would just go and get registered through the platform so you can run a node. They talk about having more streamlined compliance and reporting, just bringing in all the different kind of financial services that maybe don't have to do with trading or taking positions, because data is super important in finance. And if you don't have all the information, it can often be really difficult to make good financial decisions. So moving down farther, governance voting power is going to be a logistic function used to cap voting power on institutional nodes. So essentially a vote power ceiling. And then data and service nodes can delegate their votes to individual institutional nodes as well. Also, I believe they have a way that rating system I was talking about will be incorporated in this. I'm just not entirely sure if that's out yet or how that's going to be incorporated.
Can I say one thing? This seems to me like a very well-built infrastructure to build applications and services on top of, the way they designed it here. I know it's layer 2 and it connects to other networks, which are the underlying blockchains, but you need that application layer that's going to go on top of these things. And what they built here is ideal, because a lot of these, institutions or enterprises are going to build services and products and then offer them to retail and to the masses or in their sector of industry. And this is all necessary: regulatory compliance, good governance, data, AI, all these things are necessary. So I like what they're doing here in a layer 2, because this is absolutely necessary. And we'll see this with XRP Ledger and the side chains. So you could kind of, draw some similarities there.
Yeah, it's literally like, Mickey, because, we're going to see these blockchains. They're going to grow, vertically and also horizontally, as those are, side chains are a good horizontal way to scale. Layer 2s and layer 3s are a good way to vertically scale as well. And they both kind of, offer different things between them. So this is one of those vertical kind of scaling projects. And so with that, I want to touch on, some other things with it. So they have something called the Treasury Conversion Protocol. So this facilitates atomic swapping between assets that, may be used in fees if you want to use a different asset rather than ALBT. Additionally, it allows, like I was saying, the use of multiple assets across the services on the ecosystem. So it can just basically, there's no certain required fee token. You may pay a little more if you want to use, like, they have an example for DAI as a stable coin rather than ALBT. So there's different options with that. And then also, this Treasury conversion protocol creates stable value for transactions that take longer to process dependent on the service being used. So they work to eliminate volatility risk in floating assets like ALBT, or maybe it's Ethereum or Spark or FXRP or something like that in the future. And, you can just think about, not every kind of transaction is going to get finalized, within seconds. Some things may require days for different kind of criteria to be met before it's sent. So this kind of helps in eliminating that volatility risk. Additionally, they're going to have a treasury pool where it will be
Mhm.
replenished via network fees and utilized as a central bank promoting token stability and scarcity, and also will be utilized for future staking rewards once the original allocated supply has run out. So,
Can I just
yeah.
jump in there quick? That's what you just described there. That is a huge component of what we're seeing with DeFi 2.0 now.
Mhm.
These DAOs having treasuries where the protocols actually own the liquidity and own the actual assets. So they're going in that direction too. So, everyone, I don't want to get into it too much in this video because I don't want to clog it up. But you see why the escrow is so valuable. If all these other networks have treasuries, Ripple's got their treasury in escrow. So you could see similarities of what's going to come in the future there. And we should be looking for all protocols kind of to go in this direction, where they're going to have to facilitate, those types of services as the counterparty is the protocol.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I've seen Santiago Velez, like, on Twitter before, comment about how these blockchains are almost like supranational states. So them having their own treasuries that's managed by a DAO or some kind of decentralized, voting mechanism, I think will be really interesting to see in the future. So additionally, going into their DeFi layer, you're going to be able to bridge for cross-chain liquidity. As Mickey stated earlier, they have liquidity mining as a service for yield farming needs, and we'll show an example of that later in the video. Additionally, they'll have a DEX for decentralized asset swaps. They have something called the funders protocol, which this is going to basically allow, like, funders, it's a funding protocol. They're utilizing some kind of AI machine learning stuff, borrowing and lending, and kind of bootstrapping new projects from the ground up. And then lastly here, they will have a terminal for comprehensive financial data needs. And so, what will feed into that? That's going to be the data layer, which uses a data tunnel to allow node operators and service providers to monetize and leverage all their data. And then they also have a data quasar, which allows you to aggregate data through single API points and make it easier on the end users trying to collect or, send data around. So the last piece of this, which for, if it's going to be an institutional facing project, this is going to be pretty important. They have a regulatory and compliance layer. So they have trustless identity verification and a cross-border regulatory compliance engine. I've seen an interview with Amber Gadar, who is one of the founders, and she was talking about how they have different ways for people to do KYC AML between one another. And ultimately, like, it's up to, these institutions decide how they're going to, interact with that. So, they're kind of keeping it open and want to see where, like, the partners that end up joining in want to take it in the future. And then, Mickey, just a last couple notes that I wanted to bring in here before we go into more details about the Flare partnership. So with this, they're looking to integrate other services, like I was saying, from capital markets, other than maybe like borrowing and lending and stuff like that. They talk about investment banking and then, financial services and different stuff like that. I even read a thing where, they're looking at having the ability to do tokenized security offerings through the platform. So I don't know if anybody's seen our video on Credo Network that we did a while ago. They really feel that like what they're building will be perfect for tokenization. And I think Alliance Block has some of the kind of same attitude towards tokenization in the future. It's not here yet, but they want to facilitate ways for that to happen within their protocol.
Exactly, and a lot of that tokenization is going to happen in layer 2 or on the side chains and the areas like that. They're not going to happen necessarily on the actual main chain because you need these additional layers like regulatory compliance, KYC, AML, identity, data. Those all are have to be abstracted out of the main chain. So this is how the industry is going to start. The whole market is going to start expanding horizontally, and we see applications being now distributed. So I just want to go to that point where they connect all these networks. It's going to be no more one network takes everything. Of course, the layer ones will battle it out, for value, but the applications are going to be on many networks. You're going to start seeing that, and Flare is going to be one of those networks where Alliance Block's going to have theirs. It's Compound's building a gateway. Aave's already going to Avalanche now. So we're starting to see the maturity of the actual industry taking form now, and you're starting to see where it's headed, and it's much different than 2018. I think people had ideas, but now we're really starting to see the utility, the liquidity go cross-chain, and for different types of tokenization assets kind of will be the next phase, and they're kind of set up perfect for that. So this is a partner. I think this gives Spark, and we'll go into that, Patty. What role does Spark and Songbird play in all of this?
Yeah, well, I mean,
And
certainly we're going to have agents and stuff operating within the F asset system that are going to be, they're going to have assets on multiple different blockchains that may not be the easiest to trade with one another in, decentralized atomic way. So something like Alliance Block, let's say in the future, it offers XRP and Spark there, and maybe, one of the agents needs to swap into more XRP, but all they have is Spark right now. So, they can provide services for people to do that, get it done much more quickly, rather than going through like back channel routes to kind of find somebody that will basically do a swap with you. So I think it's pretty important in the long run as far as getting institutions into the game. So the last thing here, Mickey, before we go into that Flare partnership more, is Omniscia, Certic, and Zokio are their security audit partners. So they've had some of those security audits done already too, which is something you always want to see. They may not catch everything, but at least the project has spent a lot of money to try and make sure the platform is as good to go as possible. So with that, let's bring up this tweet from Flare Networks. And this may be a little rehashing of what we did, but I think it'll help us to drill down on some things more here. So they sent out a tweet, I believe, 2 days ago on Monday when this was announced. And they said they're partnering with Alliance Block to deploy DEX testnet, funders MVP, and a compliance framework, plus more. And then, so going into some of the details here below, first, they'll have integration between Alliance Block Bridge and Songbird. This phase of the partnership will establish cross-chain interoperability for both projects and networks, as well as lay the foundation for implementation of other solutions. Moving on, they'll deploy the Alliance Block DEX on Songbird as well. So moving further, this Funders MVP will also be launched on Songbird Network. So, everything that they will put on Flare is going to go through Songbird first, which I think is really great. Add some more utility. One of the things, Mickey, about Songbird we've kind of been wondering is, are projects actually going to keep building on it? Flare Finance and Probity are some early ones that definitely are building. We know Panther Protocol has disclosed their intention to build on Songbird as well. And now Alliance Block plus, Sparkles will be coming in the future with an NFT marketplace. So really a lot of development right out the gate, from some projects that could end up being pretty big in the future.
I think this was Songbird's, a perfect platform for testing anything EVM capable. So it's really enticing to layer twos to come to Flare Network, especially because you have that test, real world test net in Songbird where you could deploy these applications, test them all out, add different advanced functionalities, and then have them audited there, and then move to Flare Network, and then maybe move it to Polygon, or move it to Avalanche, or move it to wherever else. And that's something that you don't have with many of these other networks. Nobody else has a canary network. Only Kusama. I heard Cosmos is trying to do it too. But, Ethereum 2.0 is going to have to be built, just patched together. Look at Cardano. They had 1 million test nets. It took them 5 years to do things. Not a knock on them, but it means things are slow. So with Songbird there, all these applications, they're going to be launched, and you could test the newest of functionalities, like single-sided liquidity pools. You could do all that testing on Songbird and then roll out, the full application on Flare. And how they, separate in the future, Patty, we don't really know which direction Songbird heads, but we know right now this is what its use case is. And it's a huge use case because this brings projects to Flare. So we, as participants in the network, we're not investors, we're participants in the network. We just happen to be holding the asset too. So therefore, we're invested in the protocol and the network. And it gives us more utility. So now we are able to then utilize all these applications. We're going to be able to test out the cross-chain DEX. We're going to test out the liquidity mining. We're going to test out the single-sided liquidity pool. All those things, and the staking. So it's just a benefit in so many ways for Flare, these new projects, and for us. And I just want to bring up one other thing, Patty, about the data. So since they seem to have such a focus here on the data, aggregating and all of that, we got to remember signal providers are oracles. They're data providers. So they're creating this ecosystem here that creates a lot of synergies between different stakeholders in the networks and the networks that connect to them.
That's a great point.
And those oracles could be used for other, more other services, other applications could bootstrap on them, different business models. We're just seeing the very early days right now. They're just, right now we're just getting the network going and earning rewards, but they're there to aggregate data. And Flare at its heart is a data provisioning network. So it has an oracle system in place of, and it rewards the participants and the network users for participating in that data provisioning. And that's important. You don't need the proof of stake.
Yeah, absolutely, Mickey. So with that, we're going to get into the back half of this video right here. So we just want to address, some information about the token in case people are interested in this. Right now it's trading at, just shy of 78 cents. Like I said earlier, the max supply is 1 billion. Currently, 23% of it is on the open market, and the market cap is at $181 million. So it's not really that big of a project right now. And as far as token value of the native asset, it's relatively new as well, and is ranked 335 on CoinMarketCap. So this is the full chart that they have available here. You can see, back in late 2019, trading around 6-7 cents. Reached a high in August of, what is that, about $1.20, and it's kind of pulled back from there, and looks like it's retesting some prior highs as well, where it's sitting at right now. So just want to let you guys know, this is where it's at. I'm pretty sure, I know they have it on Uniswap, so you can get it on Binance Smart Chain via PancakeSwap. Yeah, BitTrue, Uniswap. I think KuCoin might have it. So there's a few different areas to get into that. So the last part of this is that, let's see, this is our DeFi terminal. So, in the future, when Alliance Block gets on Songbird and Flare, they may offer, I would imagine they offer some liquidity mining to get the ALB token traded and, enough liquidity throughout both of those ecosystems. So right now on Ethereum, we'll just go through that one. They have 3 active campaigns. And currently there's a pool on Balancer that is ALBT, USDC, and wrapped Ethereum. See 109% APY. Uniswap has 2 pools, one for ALBT and wrapped ETH, and then ALBT and USDT. So those are some options, as far as if you already have the token and weren't aware of this, you could look into them. Definitely make sure you understand how liquidity pools work and what kind of effects impermanent loss could have on the underlying assets that you have provided liquidity for. Additionally, they have some pools, like I said, on Binance Smart Chain. So let's switch the network here. And it's just one on PancakeSwap between wrapped BNB and wrapped ALBT. So that's another option. And they do have some staking stuff at some point, but currently I believe all the active campaigns are filled up. So yeah, it's grayed out for me. Yeah, this is kind of their DeFi terminal for doing liquidity mining and staking, and it's just the start of what this project's going to get into.
Yeah, so this looks really good. It's well laid out, and this project started, like, I remember looking into it, about a year or so ago, or months ago, and looking at like white paper and stuff was really, came out 2017, 2018. That's when it was tokenization, security tokens. That's where they were looking to go, and DeFi wasn't around yet. There was no DeFi. I mean, it was theories on it, but all of a sudden DeFi just came in and just took over everything. So they pivoted, and now they're doing cross-chain liquidity, liquidity mining as a service. These DEXs and these liquidity pools are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And things like impermanent loss, they're going to get minimized at risk as we go forward in the future with new innovations. So you can see how a project that started with a specific use case or thinking this is where the market was going to go, and then all of a sudden something comes out of nowhere and just grassroots, anyone can participate in DeFi. Gary Gensler can't stop DeFi. And they jumped right in. And now institutions going to want to jump in too. And this is a perfect way to aggregate services. So what they'll do is they'll build on top of, say, Alliance Block. And then they'll aggregate services to their users and put a nice front end in. And then they'll connect. Or we'll have people like us who just want to interact directly with these applications. We connect our Bifrost wallet. We'll probably connect right to these different dApps, which are Web3 applications. So they're hosted websites that you just connect your wallet to, either on your desktop or your mobile. And, the Bifrost, or just want to explain the wallets quickly here, Patty, so everyone understands, it's a little different than, say, Zum. So Zum is a wallet for just the XRP ledger. It's not a Web3 wallet. Bifrost and Decent and MetaMask are Web3 wallets. So they hold their access point to that blockchain to hold your assets, and then they connect to the Web3 dApp, which allows you to use smart contracts in that. And, just to understand, sometimes they'll be inside the wallet. You could do things, but for the most part, you're going to get the most functionality is in like these terminals, portals, consoles, they call them, where you could do everything on there. And there's going to be many. And you'll be able to switch networks. So going from Flare, you might be able to go to Polygon, then you go to Avalanche, and you go to this one. The apps are going to be on many different networks. So there's definitely no one winner takes all here. And with Ethereum 2.0 taking so long to come out, everything has caught up between Terra and their thing. Cosmos is huge. Polkadot, we're going to do a video on tomorrow. And next week, we're going to do a collaboration with Jungle Inc. and Midas discussing Polkadot, because the parachains are launching now. And that is probably one of the biggest impacts the industry is going to see this year. And not everyone really understands how big a deal that is. It's massive, the amount of projects that are going to be able to spin up very quickly. And it's a new way to launch them without having to raise funds or ICO or any kind of securities laws. So those will start this week. We're going to do a video on that tomorrow. But any last thoughts here, Patty?
No, I'm just really excited. We're seeing more projects come online. I think this really fits in with what Hugo and his team, are looking to do with Flare initially, and that's kind of provide institutional DeFi to all of them. So
and this is a nice fit for Panther. So since Panther Protocol brings that privacy, the synergies between these different layer twos, Panther, Alliance Block, and working together cross chain. This is where the future is, and they're already there. So DeFi 1.0, hey, Ethereum got all the, development, all the value, but now it's a new world coming into, and Flare's going to be launching. They're going to be fully capable when they launch. So anyone complaining about, oh, well, when I get my drop, they're building this so the network can be utilized for years to decades to come, but to be ready for this next transition to DeFi 2.0. And I think having treasuries is going to be something very interesting. So I think that community, I might do a video on this the next day or two about how we need to rethink how you look at the escrow. And I'm going to give a couple examples of other DAOs. And you just heard Patty say it here. They have the protocol DAO has a treasury where they aggregate out. Now imagine if you had a built-in exchange with that too. Like the XRP ledger has a built-in exchange. Imagine the capabilities you could do If you had a treasury that aggregated itself, you know, I don't know how Ripple would do it because you can't do it as like a centralized entity, but they could do it as a participant, and the protocol could just aggregate it based on different conditions that are met, and then the treasury's there, and it just distributes out those assets. That's what the escrow is going to be used for. There's so many different ways. I want to see how they're going to create this single side liquidity pools, because we're going to start seeing convergence of staking and liquidity mining are kind of going to start to merge here a little bit in how they're used with lending and borrowing. So that's what the whole F-asset system is about. So I'm very excited, Patty. I think this is probably one of the best partnerships they could have made, instead of just, you know, some random like hypey, you know, DeFi protocol that's on, you know, 4 other blockchains. I think this is really going to bring in a better quality level of institutions. So when they're ready to come in these institutions, they're going to look around and be like, well, what has the whole compliance layer for me? How can I feel compliant? Does it have data? Does it have privacy? Does it have KYC? Was it tested? And they could provide all of those things between Alliance Block, Songbird testing, and then launching on Flare. And that's coming very soon, very soon. We're on the brink of that. And when it does happen, they're not going to go to the random blockchains or things that are just spec pumping. So we're in a great position right now, and Flare Network launching and the XRP Ledger with their side chains is perfectly set up for a DeFi 2.0 world. So I know other things get all the attention sometimes, and you're like, oh, wow, why is there so many things going on here? Well, it's not going on XRP Ledger, or Flare's not even up yet. It's going to happen quick when it happens, and we haven't even really got out of the third inning yet. Let's put it there. That's where I feel like we are when it comes to where DeFi, tokenization, and crypto in general are going.
Well, I think this might be the longest baseball game of my life, but with that, this is
a
the
long
DeFi
one.
Standard. I'm Patty XRP,
I'm Mickey B. Fresh.
and we're out. See y'all.